Let's welcome on Andrew Rivers, touring comedian, and what I'm about. We haven't seen you in a little while. Where are you? Are you on the road?
I'm home.
Oh, I should have noticed by the messy bed in the back.
That's as made as it gets. So
You know what? Without the hat, he could drive naked on a horse and make a whole new career.
Yeah, he's got that Nelson thing, Nelson twins.
Lady Godiva.
I don't know what any of that means, but
First
I
words,
think that's a
seconds.
compliment.
Lady
Yeah,
Godiva.
it's about your long hair.
Good
Okay.
hair.
Yeah, dude looks like a lady. You know that reference, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
It could
except
have been your
for-
daddy,
except for-
buddy.
Hello, Martin.
Yeah. Anyway, I know why he's growing his hair. He's growing it because
Charity.
he started growing it a few years ago, and he did the Mormon special. And when are you going to cut it?
The plan is maybe when I film my next special, they can look at, I'm still in sort of a prove it phase of my career, I think. So if I think, hey, I wrote all these jokes from here to here, that'll be something kind of cool to show for it.
No, he
It's
meant
like
when are you going
rings
to
of
cut
a
it?
tree,
Yeah.
When are you going to cut it in comedy? Is what he was asking.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I'm close to. I've basically got the set, and now it's sort of filling in the cracks and smoothing it out. A lot of this show for me was built last year when I was an opening act on someone else's tour, Steve Hofstetter, and so I was doing 15 minutes at a time every night, and writing different sets of jokes. But now this year I've really wanted to be able to do it all in a row more and headline my own because there's just differences when you tell the jokes all together as like a 60-minute piece from,
Flow.
some of these things work as a chunk, but, sometimes you're trying to add on a joke to that, but they don't know your character really well because they've only seen 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And
You have an
so-
hour. You have an hour to tell a long story. It's got a beginning, middle, end, and you do
Callbacks.
all the way through. Yeah. So I have been bragging about you to my friends a little bit.
Well,
And I
thank you.
want to make sure I'm bragging accurately.
If they're your friends, I doubt they know how to work the internet, so you can just say whatever you want.
Sure.
That's just cold.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm teaching this class, not really teaching, but coaching, I think is a better word, a class in podcasting, because podcasting is so many different things, and it's like that perfume that's different on every woman who wears it. Everyone's got for some people, they're making TikTok videos. For some people, they're on Twitch gaming and building a community that way. And others are doing really good psychological work and training and teaching themselves. And then there's a guy, I'm working with who talks about medical marijuana, which is it's very hard to get expert advice. And these are all passionate things that people are doing and trying to figure out how to monetize, which is a word I can't stand. Monetize usually means I'm doing something I love for free and no one's paying me yet. Right?
Well, let's start with the cannabis one. I could give you a few tips, man.
Yes. All right. And well, we're up.
You
for
can
that,
monetize marijuana by just hanging out around a 7-Eleven and
yeah.
I'm very passionate about marijuana as well. So if that's what you're bragging about, like, oh, my son's a huge stoner too. You guys could be friends,
No, here's how I did brag about you. You can monetize your social media in ways that some people don't know anything about. And I don't want to give up any trade secrets or anything,
SEO.
but you're getting, I think you told me a few months ago, millions of views per month on.
Yeah, it's a little down since then, but just because I had a reservoir of content and then
It dried up.
yeah, well, I got to film this show and I don't want to, you're like, do I put it out early? Do I put it out when it's finished? Oh, it's so hard.
So it's about content though. And let's tell people a little bit about how you do it. You post clips.
Yeah.
And right now you're working on a new show. So you can't post all that new stuff before you go out and tour and do it.
Yeah. And that's where like a lot of comedians now are doing a lot of crowd interaction. and that gives you sort of free content to put out. And hey, remember how funny I am,
Right.
and until
So
you get
you're
to
not
the
going to
next.
hang on to that drunk woman from Indianapolis for your special. So you can go ahead and put her on the internet.
Most women don't hang around me, so
But you do get checks from. Can I say any?
I mean, the
YouTube,
last one
Facebook?
from Facebook just came in, and it was $400 this month. So
That's not
there's a
chump
little
change.
bit.
Yeah.
I was just down in LA actually with Keith, and I was at he took me to a comedy show, which is like my fun favorite activity.
Sure.
And
Keith is his brother.
yeah, and so I was just
John
chatting up
always
one of
goes
the other.
to court for fun in his free time too. He just goes to court and watches other lawyers. I get
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So anyway, I was chatting with one of the other comedians on the show who was about my level or somewhere, and I said, how do you make a living in Los Angeles? And he said, oh, you have to have a secondary source of income, like he said, for me, my podcast is doing really well,
Right.
and so that covers all the stuff. He's like, you need a secondary source of income. I said, oh, I have that. That's called a roommate. And so, we
you're a
all have
comic?
our ways.
Which restaurant?
Yeah. We all have our ways to get through.
SEO is yours, so that's a good thing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's great. And at the same time, these algorithms are fickle, and at any given point, the thing could decide, no, we don't like you anymore.
They move the cheese. They could change the rules on you.
And
anytime.
especially when it's going crazy, you're spending hours a day trying to look at the analytics and was it the hashtag? Was it, oh, it's because I got a big pop immediately 5 seconds into the video, and that made people stick around. And
It's a dark art.
and it's almost, you're better off spending that time not even thinking about it and just saying that's dumb luck, because
Yeah.
when my videos on YouTube were going crazy over the summer, as soon as they would hit 1 million views, it was like the faucet just turns off,
trickle.
and then it stops, and you're like, well, if it's good enough for 1 million, why isn't it good enough for 4 million?
And Facebook, I believe, is like it's artificial intelligence, but it's also their algorithms will much like radio programmers used to put a record in heavy rotation and then say, all right, we've burned that one enough, let's bring up another artist, and then they put it into, we used to call when we backpedaled and downplayed an artist, we used to call that lunar rotation. Come around once every 30 days.
Haley's Comet is what mine's at right now.
That's a new one.
And so it is. It's a tough business,
and each algorithm is different. Like, I posted the same video on Facebook and that got 4 million views, and then it got me demonetized on Instagram.
Why?
It was a joke about. It was the joke where I allegedly sold leftover drugs. And again, Facebook is like, we think this is great content. And Instagram is like, hey, this is a classy joint. This is where people post pictures of their food, so.
Right. But it was sarcasm. You weren't really selling drugs.
No, I would never do something like that.
No.
Maybe at the 7-Eleven and
yeah.
No, he showed up at a 5-star restaurant with a wife beater on. That's what happened.
Yeah. What's funny is because my t-shirts are sort of called Xanax the dog t-shirts, I have a store on my Instagram profile, but sometimes once a month, Instagram tries to take it down, and they say you're not allowed to sell Xanax on Instagram. And I'm like, it's the name of the t-shirt. It's not.
And it's probably a bot that does it, and not even.
Ed, you're absolutely right, because this was part of John Oliver's expose. You saw his artificial intelligence thing, didn't you, Andrew?
Maybe. I'm not sure. Okay. I think the last week one, yeah.
It blows my mind that Andrew sees all this stuff and doesn't have to subscribe to HBO, because that's how I do it, because I'm old and stupid and I didn't cancel my subscription. But yes, it's just algorithms.
And it's the same thing like you're talking about. There's no speed traps. They just set up these cameras and send you a ticket later now.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you explain to the camera, no, I'm a white guy, I'm supposed to get off of the ticket. There needs to be some context.
They make the cameras really good
Yeah.
for that reason.
Oh man.
So yes, I was about to say something that was very good. But
Oh,
being a human being, oh, with the algorithms, there was this story about, there's a story that algorithms discount people of color. There's also another thing algorithms do where they, if there's some bad input, they can go crazy. I mean, they
right.
can
I think
literally.
John Oliver was talking about they use AI to read resumes now.
Yes,
And if
that's
you
the one I
just
was.
put the formatting differently, it
Thank
doesn't
you
even
to
get
the
through.
thank you to the fruit of my loins with some of my DNA. You remembered what I forgot to say.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I got where you were going,
You know,
I thought, it's like
Wow.
yeah, I
have
thought
you
it
ever
might take
eaten?
you a while.
Have you ever eaten at a Thai restaurant? I'm just curious.
It's been about 6 months. If you know anyone, I'm in the market.
Okay. See, he doesn't know about the Ron DeSantis story.
I am
You
aware
do.
of that story too, but I was
Okay.
making a sexual reference and
I
saying,
got
You did there?
boy, it's been 6 months. It wasn't Chinese though, so
All right. So resumes now, if they're routinely read by AI, they make incredible mistakes. And you think you're writing a resume for a human being, but AI is the best way to weed through thousands of them and refer the ones to the human beings that make the final decision. And John was talking about the ways that AI is already affecting our lives, but we don't know it. The other amazing AI futuristic thing is that AI will be able to write and create not just art and the funny things they're using in stories about it, but it will be able to create businesses. It'll be able to create
Movies.
apps. Eventually, Andrew, did you see the Spotify AI DJ yet?
no, I think that was at the beginning of your show, and I was trying to work out my technical stuff, so I didn't.
Okay. I still think, and of course, a lot of people think this too, that you can't really replace human creativity because it doesn't follow any logical pattern.
Yeah,
In
that's
fact,
what
if it
program
follows
directors
yeah,
said
well,
too.
if it follows a logical pattern, what do you call it, Andrew? Lame jokes, bar jokes? What do you
Oh yeah, maybe hack or maybe
hack?
yeah.
Yeah. So I think AI would be a hack at certain kinds of creativity because it could only do the same jokes everyone else is doing, and it can modify them just slightly, but they're still the same dumb hack jokes.
Yeah, how do you get the computer, stoned, and then it'll create something?
Andrew, like other creatives, get some inspiration from not medical, recreational marijuana, and tell me a little about what that does for you. Just opens your
A
because I
little bit
remember,
of
yeah,
a little bit of relaxation, a little bit of maybe more in touch with or sort of feeling insignificant and your place in the world. I feel like um uh it feels great. um five
it,
stars.
it
I'd
it
recommend.
might actually be a thing and get popular. Yeah,
Well, sometimes, I mean, people say like marijuana makes you stupid, and I'm kind of like, yeah, that's the point. If you can blur sometimes reality a little bit, like Photoshop the world. And sometimes when I go on hikes, it's, I like to appreciate nature while I'm appreciating nature, but sometimes you just notice like the colors and the trees more because you're almost not worried about taxes and bills and the weight of everyday life. You sort of got a relief of a little bit of pressure. And
Y- y- y-
um
You know what else, Andrew? Sometimes people say marijuana makes you stupid, man.
yeah, I
Dave's
I
not
feel
here.
like I've heard that somewhere,
Yeah.
but
Well, it's interesting to me partially because after not touching it for 3 decades,
mhm.
with my neuropathies and my cancer and my nausea and the chemo and the radiation, it was the only thing. It worked better than a nausea medication. But I also have to admit that, did I get high like the old days? No, because in the old days, I don't know about you, but Zip and I remember. Zip remembers like Pepperidge Farm.
You
The,
guys were
the
higher
whole
than lab rats, man.
yeah, the whole point was to get baked, and
Mhm.
really to our detriment. It did make us incapacitated, stupid. And then today it's so strong that I have to admit that yes, has it made music sound incredible? And I've sit there and listen to music after doing a very small amount, 5 milligrams or less, that helps with migraines, that completely got rid of nausea. And I have to say, well, I'm no longer like against it. And if that's relapse, then I guess that is. But I also don't like I'll forget about it for a week or two at a time. I don't think that happens to you, Andrew. I think you don't forget about it for a week or two.
It's funny you bring that up. Actually, I've been trying to give myself breaks. Just because I've been a mostly daily user for a while, and so like I'll go on tour for a week and then I'll just not bring any with me. Now, part of the problem is that everywhere you go, people have weed now, so they're like, "You want some?" And I'm like, "I do, actually."
It's actually, yeah, it's free. I can't turn down a free donut. I'm sure I'd do the same with pot.
But I
the
went,
donut at the same time.
I actually have 5 days without marijuana right now, and
Wow.
thank you. I don't know if there's a coin for that, but there's a lot of loose change in my couch.
Do you gummy up before a performance?
Gummy up. That's
a great question.
No, I try to stay as sober as I can throughout the day before the show. But sometimes you're just feeling good, and you're definitely sharper without it. It will affect your performances, but
you've been at shows where they purposely say this is a stoner show, and
if you look up, like if you can Google the dope show, that the whole point of those shows is to
be stupid on
right.
pop.
And the hardest part is being sober all day so you can perform a sober set, and then you take a break mid-show. And now that other drugs are legalized in Oregon, they're having
you're not going to do mushroom night. No,
and acid and
no.
So I have not signed up yet, just but I'm sure that'll be something in my future here.
Welcome to psilocybin night, ladies and
Because
gentlemen.
I think if you can try drugs in a controlled environment, that's much safer. I'm gonna be a cool dad, like you can drink at my house, I would probably say, like, even if I had kids, I would say, like, don't even bother drinking because that's the dumbest thing. But everything else is probably a little more better for the brain, I think.
Good Bob. He's gonna melt down.
I do think, by the way, to be really honest about this, I do think that expanding your consciousness is a part of altering reality. I just think that, much like anything else,
since Christ was a boy,
it can be overdone, and it can be a trap, and you don't know.
I'm not fiending. I haven't sold anyone's jewelry, or like it's not that big of a deal. But
I'm so glad cocaine never entered your life. That's
Bob, look in Lisa's drawers.
so also glad for that. Everybody I know that does it is not fun to be around. So, I don't hang around those people.
It was a neat thing about having my kids, and the fact that I didn't drink was this was their normal.
Yeah.
So Keith came home, and he was like, "I was at Jeff's house. His dad is an alcoholic," and I said, "Why?" He said, "I watched him during the football game. He drank beer," and I said, "Well, how much beer did he have?" He said, "I counted. He had 3 beers," and I said, "In 3 hours? Yeah, he's an alcoholic." I said, "Well, you're absolutely right." No, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, I find it interesting because I'm very proud of you, but you do a lot of things in moderation, and you have respect for people, and you're kind of a bit of a loner like me in some ways, who puts himself out there in front of people, the opposite, and seeks approval, which is sometimes not freely given.
Well,
clearly more than not.
It's I'm not trying to be a loner. It just
it just happened.
It's just natural, I guess.
You like your privacy, though. You like your
for sure. I mean, there's some social anxiety. A lot of it is, I think that's sometimes what stunts me with dating is like almost just knowing that a girl likes me is enough, because from then on, I can imagine that it went well instead of the reality, which is I probably ruin it, you know. So
I think you should ask her if she
wow.
wants to go to a Thai restaurant.
yeah.
If she gets the joke, she's a liberal, and you'll probably get along with her.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, we're hanging in there. I also get like, you know, I think highly of myself, and I think,
You do.
and some people might
Yeah,
argue
Adam
too
Thomas.
much,
I think
but
highly of myself too.
yeah. So, you know, I meet a lot of people that I just don't feel like are on, you know, are worth my time. And also my career, you know, I justify a lot with like, I'm on this rocket ship trying to escape Earth's gravity. And like, if I can just, you know, get to a certain spot, if I can just get in orbit where, you know, but I will say that the biggest difference this year has been I'm making a little bit more money. So now I can afford to like take a girl out and not like her after 2 dates. And I don't go like, oh, I really wish I had that $50 back now because the electricity bill is going to be coming
Yeah.
up late, you know.
Andrew Rivers. Andrew Rivers, comedian.
Yes,
Let's give him a
yes.
big round of applause. All right. Thank you all for listening. I do want to mention that, and I'm putting it last in the show. It's sort of like PBS. The show is brought to you by Bob and Lisa's Maple Syrup.
BBS was brought to you
underwritten by
by
the Syrup Foundation.
Yes, syrup. It's good for you in reasonable amounts, about the same way Andrew does pot. Don't overdo it.
plant-based sugars are better than others.
Otherwise, you might be a diabetic. Okay. Oh, how are you feeling, Shelley Murphy? So let's go. Hey, now that we're done, Dave, let's bring back our web developer, Dave. Dave is by the way, he's the Wizard of Oz behind
Yes,
this.
yes,
Makes it all
yes,
happen.
yes.
Thank you, Dave.
Hey.
And Dave is like, I don't want to talk. Don't make me talk.
Over.
Go ahead and throw up the questions because I don't like to disrupt to read the questions
Yeah, I
during
was-
the show.
Or
Let's
just
I was
go ahead and
starring
throw
some
up.
of them.
No.
Any
Well, you just
you think is worth answering. We'll finish that way. This is how Steve Hofstetter ends his shows.
Yeah.
With his comics on
Again,
the stage.
it's
shaking.
creating content, you know.
Hand pink waving. What does that mean?
I think that means his emoji didn't work.
Steve Cormier asks how much snow in Springfield? Almost 2 feet. And today I saw that we had about 600 gallons of sap. And I literally decided to be a Vermonter and go out in the four-wheel drive vehicle, drive up to the farm, back up to the sap shed. At any time I could have got stuck and not gotten out, but I'm retired. So, and I like the danger and
Adventure.
They called
and
him Bob
also
Danger.
Hank usually does the hard outdoor work of pumping the sap. And if anything gets backed up in the next week or so while I'm here, I want to be able to do it. And I sort of had forgotten. So I pumped the sap, barely got the vehicle back to the barn. And then I boiled and made about 12 gallons of maple syrup. And when I got out, I went, oh my God, another 8 inches fell.
Yeah, nor'easter, you guys, right?
Oh, it's crazy. It's probably
Now,
close to
I have a
2 feet.
question because don't the lines freeze up? Isn't that why you try to wait until March? But if you get a big late snowstorm, does that slow down the process more?
It's all weather dependent. And what you want is cold nights, but not too cold, and warm days, but not too warm. And during that 5 or 6 weeks that happens, you collect the sap, and we do it with a vacuum pump. And some days we even have as much as 12, 13, 1,400 gallons worth of sap. Today was a 500 or 600 gallon, and I could make 12, 13 gallons of syrup. But I did it all alone, and then when I was done, I almost didn't get out the road. The car did this thing where it swished around and stopped, and I was like, uh-oh. And the only thing I could do is back up and try it again with more speed, which could go bad in the snow. But I got over the hill, and I got here. Ed saw about 4 minutes before the podcast. So if
You
not,
were
I
over
would
the
have.
hill before, though.
If not, I would have done it from the phone. Thank you, from the phone, like Spike does. All right. Any other questions?
I got a little something.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the private comment that I uploaded a video in regards to the AI creating creative content.
Yes.
This is the greatest thing I've seen all week. Let me
Go ahead, play it.
okay.
Cats Cats always on the prowl. They're sneaky and sly with their eyes on the goal. They're the kings of the house, they rule with a purr. Eminem loves cats, can't you tell from his verse? They're independent, they do what they please, but they always come back when you have some tease. They rub against your legs, they pull in your rear. They're the best companions, they're always near. But don't get on their bad side, they'll scratch and they'll bite. They have their own minds, they won't be denied. They're the bosses of the house, they run the show, but we love them anyway. They're our feline bras, they're me out for fold. They're me out for play, they're me out for attention. They want it their way, but we can't stay mad. They're too cute to scold. We give in to their demands, their charms are too bold. Meow, 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 meow. They're the kings of the house, kings of the house. They run the show, they don't need a spouse. They're the best pets that have. Feeling free, Eminem loves cats, another buried in. They may drive us crazy with their constant meow, but we can't stay mad. This still our heart with a single purr.
So I did see that, and I'm gonna steal the line from John Oliver. The AI is never going to be as good as a human being. I mean, they rhymed house with spouse and left mouse sitting
We're
there.
looking at the beta version though. Like in 10 years,
true.
this thing's gonna be incredible.
Exponentially better.
We are heading into a post-truth world.
A post-reality world, even.
Yeah.
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 I think you're
I
right.
can't wait.
Andrew.
I'm gonna be so popular in there.
Well, shall we
Don't
all
get the air
apologize
miles.
to you for that? Very, very sorry. Very, very sorry. All right, everybody. Is that the last question?
There wasn't any burning questions I didn't catch or I
no
didn't
worries.
star.
Yeah.
What will Purdue do? Poor Frank.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Be well.
Bob and Zed Show.